be seeing you in all the old familiar places that my heart and mind embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut tree, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is through, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
Is This Somebody's Mum on Central on Tuesday?
Oh, this is Miss Hildegard Withers, retired school teacher who wears inherited hats and likes to play at being detective when the police department isn't looking.
It's a private investigation. A girl is missing, and we're going to locate her.
Hey, man. Finders keepers?
Does she look familiar?
Did you say you were with the police?
I didn't say.
The many-hatted Eve Arden on the trail Tuesday night 7:35 on Central.
Shaping the future in a push-button world. A British company that leads the world in fibre-optic communications, whose two-way public information service is the first of its kind in the world. A company that links radio and television into our homes, whose integrated telephone network gives direct dialing to a bigger percentage of callers than is offered by any other country. putting you and the future in touch. British Telecom, the power behind the button.
I've got a system. A brand new system.
I found a system, complete new system. New system, Persil automatic, will wash your cares away.
I find it washes my clothes cleaner.
Well, the other one was good, but this one seems to come even cleaner.
No other powders as good on difficult stains like tea, coffee and fruit juice.
My tea cloths come up very nice.
Because no other powder can do so much at lower temperatures.
You can wash more delicate things.
Nylons, underclothes, woolens.
New system, Persil automatic, it's in the shop.
I find it good.
No complaints. You've got to give it a go.
What shall we talk about next, George? Football?
No, we did that back in Liverpool.
Beer. What about beer?
Newcastle.
Racing?
York.
May as well take a break then. We've exhausted everything.
Have a break. Have a KitKat.
I know. Politics. We haven't done that. What are your politics?
Middle of the road. Middle of the road.
Impulse, the irresistible all-over body spray. Men just can't help acting on impulse. To discover oil of Ulay is to discover the secret of younger-looking skin. Oil of Ulay is a special blend of oils and moisture in harmony with those found in your skin. Discover oil of Ulay. It can help you keep the beauty of young-looking skin.
The cost of this year's Olympics is estimated at £339 million.
Pin money.
The cost of saving Venice from the sea is estimated at £400 million.
It's a drop in the ocean.
The cost of Spacelab is estimated at £714 million.
Small potatoes.
Put the cost of these projects together, and it comes to less than half the amount now being lent to small businesses in Britain by Natwest. Over £4,000 million.
That should come in handy.
And this year, Natwest will be lending a whole lot more. If you've got a business of your own, however small, come in and see us, or ring 01 200 0200.
Discover everything for the great outdoors indoors at the Super Boat and Caravan Show. See pleasure craft large and small, the latest caravans and camping equipment, and great holiday ideas. Talk dinghy sailing with the experts, or try your skill on the giant indoor ski slope. On now at the National Exhibition Centre, open from 11 every day.
The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, starting Wednesday at 7 o'clock. A major new series from ITV. Set against the shifting patterns of nature, it recreates the changing times and fortunes of Edith Holden. A chance meeting cements a fateful love affair, while family discord threatens to upset her artistic career. An evocative and haunting drama, a new 12-part series, The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, starting Wednesday at 7 on ITV.
Over on Channel 4 there's a change of programming now, an additional programme to remember Tom Keating, who died last week. That's starting in a couple of minutes. And then the Bogart film starts this evening at 11:15. It's called Conflict. It's good stuff. You can see that on Channel 4. Here on Central, it's news time.
The Israelis bomb Syrian and Jews militia positions near Beirut. The French government says it will talk to striking lorry drivers. The other woman in Mark Thatcher's life, and the story of a small boy with a lion's share of courage. Good evening. Israel sent its air force back into Lebanon today to bomb Muslim areas to the south and east of Beirut. The Israelis said their targets, all in Syrian or Jews Muslim-controlled territory, were terrorist Palestinian bases. They denied they were helping President Gemayel of Lebanon, whose army has been beaten back and who is under growing political pressure. At least 3 people were killed in the Israeli bombing raids. The planes first hit Dammur, the coastal town south of Beirut, taken from the Lebanese army by Jews militiamen last week. A sawmill was set on fire and a worker reported killed and others hurt. The Israelis said there were Palestinian guerrillas there. The planes went on to attack towns in the Chouf, Bamdoun and Beirut, which had just come under heavy artillery fire from the Lebanese army, fighting to keep its last foothold in the mountains. Our reporter was in Beirut with the Jews' forces when it was attacked.
The Druze fighters were relaxing inside the badly shelled house they've chosen for a command post when the first bombardment started. 5 shells from Lebanese army positions crashed into the village, one of them exploding on the roof of a damaged house we were being shown around. 5 minutes later, the fighters said it was safe to emerge. But panic broke out once more as the drone of Israeli warplanes could be heard above. Everyone ran for cover as the whistle of falling bombs took over. 3 dropped near the center of the town with a deafening thud, but no one was hurt. Moments later, with the dust still thick, the jets could be heard screaming into the distance. It's been a day of more fierce battling too along the Green Line dividing East and West Beirut. In the eastern sector, the struggling Lebanese army fought almost frantically to hold on to their positions. Tanks were moved forward to bolster their frontline troops as Amal militiamen in the west kept up the pressure, continuing to gain ground. They know the Lebanese army is almost defeated, pushed back to the east and holding just Souk al-Ghab in the mountains. If that is taken, the road is open to the presidential palace. Whilst the fighting continues, the Italians began their withdrawal from Beirut today, the second member country of the multinational peacekeeping force to pull out. Britain was first. 1,400 Italians came here in 1982, just 100 will remain to guard Italian interests. Their departure was marred this morning when one soldier was wounded by sniper fire as he helped to load vehicles at Beirut's port. Terry Lloyd, ITN, Lebanon.
The French government has backed down over the road blockade by lorry drivers. Ministers have offered to meet the drivers' leaders for talks on the dispute on Tuesday. During the day, dozens of main roads were closed. The blockade stretched from Calais to Lyon and from Bordeaux to Strasbourg, despite appeals from ministers and union leaders. A government spokesman threatened to clear the blockade by force, saying no modern country can accept a situation like this without serious damage to its economy. But the drivers refused to budge, and instead the French cabinet gave way.
This was one single traffic jam. It was 15 miles long and involved 2,000 lorries. Elsewhere, lorry drivers staged what they called Opération Escargot, Operation Snail, forcing motorists to a crawl. The lorry drivers want an end to what they see as years of being overtaxed and over-regulated by the government. But since the immediate victims of their action were motorists, tempers were bound to flare.
Nous, pendant ce temps-là, on est toujours coincés sur la route.
Ce chauffeur nous déclare qu'il est solidaire avec les Français.
Not until tomorrow will it become clear whether the lorry drivers are prepared to clear the way for Tuesday's talks. Even if they wanted to, it's doubtful whether the thousands of lorries involved could physically be moved in time. As if that were not bad enough, France's miners tomorrow begin a 2-day national strike, the first time that industry has shut down totally for 21 years. All in all, the socialist government of François Mitterrand is experiencing its worst opposition yet from the quarter it least expected it, the workers. John Suchet, ITN, in Paris.
The Irish Prime Minister, Dr. Garret FitzGerald, has ordered a full inquiry into a new bugging scandal. Mr. Seamus Mallon, deputy leader of the Social Democratic and Labour Party in Northern Ireland, says the home of a Dublin friend was bugged while he was staying there. That was during a meeting of the New Ireland Forum launched by the Dublin government to explore solutions to the Irish troubles. Both the Irish police and the IRA have denied organising the bugging, and Mr. Mallon told Colin Baker that he won't speculate on who planted the microphone.
There was a microphone somewhere around that size there. A transmitter, which I am told, I don't know anything about transmitters, which was a fairly sophisticated electronic transmitter. The microphone was placed in the kitchen under a carpet. 3 men from the Post and Telegraphs Department arrived at the house as a result of my friend reporting that his phone was out of order. They purported to be from the Department of Post and Telegraphs to fix the phone. They said they had to put in a new wire because a new phone system was going in that area. When he arrived home, he found what he saw was very shoddy workmanship, and when he started to try and straighten the wires, he discovered the bugging devices.
Had the bug not been discovered that day,
what kind of conversation would you have had? What would these people have learned?
Well, they would have gotten an enormous information about horse racing. They would have discovered that we had 1 or 2 drinks before we went to bed at night. They would have learned a lot about football. But as regards anything else, I can't for the life of me imagine what they might have done.
Argentina has said it will not renounce its claim to the sovereignty of the Falklands as a precondition for the resumption of diplomatic relations with Britain. Foreign Minister Dante Caputo said in an interview published in Buenos Aires today that Britain's concern for the security of the islands could be satisfied by a United Nations force in place of the British military presence. Mrs. Thatcher has said repeatedly that sovereignty is not negotiable, nor is a UN force acceptable in the Falklands. The Cabinet will discuss the latest exchange of messages between Britain and Argentina on Thursday. The TUC leader, Mr. Len Murray, has lodged a protest with the International Labour Organization about the ban on unions at the Cheltenham Spy headquarters. He said it was a great pity that the dispute had come to this, but the government had flagrantly breached the workers' rights.
Well, first of all, I hope that it will impress on our own government that it is preferable for them to discuss and negotiate and find an agreement with the civil service unions rather than have to be dragged before the Committee on Freedom of Association of the ILO, a committee which in recent years, for example, has had to deal with such countries as Poland, Argentina, Chile, Romania. Those are the sort of countries that have been charged under the Convention 87. So I hope that will help to concentrate the government's mind that they're doubtfully, in national legal terms, acting correctly, and certainly in international convention terms, acting quite wrongly.
Mark Thatcher took his Texan girlfriend to church with Mum and Dad today. Karen Fortson, a 24-year-old heiress, sat beside Mrs. Thatcher during the service in the village of Ellsborough near Chequers. But afterwards, the couple still won't talk about their relationship.
It's clear that Mark's girlfriend has gone down rather well at Chequers this weekend. Karen travelled with Mrs. Thatcher to the church, while Mark arrived separately with his father. The romantic speculation inspired by the visit has at least diverted attention from Mark's involvement in the controversial £300 million construction contract in Oman. During the hour-long service, Karen and the Thatchers joined in the singing of the hymn, "Christ is our cornerstone." Mark met Miss Fortson in America 3 months ago. She's the daughter of a Texas oil millionaire. Any hope they may have harboured of keeping their relationship private has had to be abandoned. But friends say it's still too early to talk of marriage. David Chater, ITN, in Buckinghamshire.
Twin brothers Phil and Steve Mayer of the United States made Olympic history today, collecting gold and silver medals in the slalom event at Sarajevo. The American team had their best ever total in the Winter Olympics, 5 medals, 3 of them gold. Phil had started third on the final run, but he finished the day first. Brother Steve had to beat problems all the way, but he clung on for silver. The Irish government have announced a crackdown on hard drugs, making life imprisonment the maximum sentence for drug pushers. Dublin's heroin problem is now said to rival New York's. On News at 1 tomorrow, there'll be a report on how that problem's been exploited in the city with the most young unemployed in Europe. Now a progress report on Ben Hardwick. He's only 2 and the youngest person ever to have a liver transplant in Britain. He'd been given only a few months to live when the BBC programme That's Life took up his cause. A donor was found and the operation went ahead at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge. And that's where Ben faced the cameras for the first time since the operation. Doctors say his condition's stable, he's eating well and showing progress.
Again?
And finally, another small boy with a lion's share of courage. Kevin Philbin had to be flown from Saudi Arabia after his hand was crushed in an accident. British surgeons restored one of the 5 lost fingers 24 hours after the accident.
With his mother looking on, a nurse checks the circulation of Kevin's rejoined middle finger every 5 minutes. He now feels pain when she squeezes, and that's an excellent sign. It was last Thursday when Kevin was playing with some girls down by a drain.
When I looked down in the tunnel, another girl was supposed to meet me.
So I looked down, and this other girl, she thought she could trap me in, but she didn't see my fingers. So she shut it on my fingers. And so when I was hanging there, when it shut on my fingers, I fell into the water. So I guess I didn't really feel it. And so I looked at my hand, and it was squirting out blood a little bit. But then I crawled out of the tunnel and was holding my hand. I ran down to the hospital and showed my hand.
Well, now, you say you ran to the hospital. You ran to the hospital after the accident. How far was that you ran?
It was about a mile.
You ran a mile after the accident.
I've always been called the folks who live on the hill.
Houseplants. You know, houseplants are taking over my home. We've got hundreds of them. Honestly, you could film a jungle picture in our bathroom. I went looking for the bath oil last night and got chased by a chimp. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. Because they grow so big, plants, don't they? I'm terrified to go into our hall. I'm convinced there's one in there that's eaten our cat. It's getting on my nerves, actually. So much so, I thought last week I must go and see Mrs. Morrison. Now, she's our local WI expert on the things. She said, "Oh, do come in, my darling. Mind the chlorophite latum, shift the Bilbergia Newtons, and find yourself a seat next to Mrs. Cox." And there's me like a lemon looking round for another woman. She said, "No, down the geranium." I said, "Oh, you have names for all of them." She said, "Well, Mrs. Cox is the official name of that particular one, but I do have pet names for them all, too. Sit, Sidney. I call my Gloxinia Gloria, my Philodendron Phyllis, for obvious reasons, and my Nepeta Herodacia variegata I call Wilfred." I said, "Oh, really? Why's that?" She said, "Well, to be perfectly honest, I get so bloody fed up saying Nepeta Herodacia variegata." Now, always remember, plants have their own individual personalities. Take that rather prickly cactus beside you, for example. Can't you see just a fleeting resemblance to Robin Day? And the lily of the valley surely has just a touch of Larry Grayson. And that poison ivy, Russell Harty to the life. I said, "Oh, it's fascinating, Mrs. Morrison, it really is. What about my houseplants?" She said, "Ah, yes. Now let's start right at the beginning. How do you feel about sphagnum moss?" Well, I made a ricket there, didn't I? Thought it was a racing driver. But she was everything else. Gave me all the information on where to grow them, what soil to use, what to feed them on, everything. Trouble with me is I'm a little bit disorganised, to say the least. And what with trying to feed and look after the plants, and feed and look after the family, well, it all gets on top of me. Just before I rushed out this morning, I thought, I must give the busy Lizzie some liquid fertiliser. And when I looked, I'd squirted it with HP sauce. Actually, I think she liked it. Trouble is, round about now, I dread to think what my husband's putting on his beef burgers.
Change the mood I'm in for a little while. Let me see you grin, let me see you smile. No soulful tales that fret or frown, no woeful wails that get me down. No rights or wrongs, sing no